Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Rippo. I've built bull ropes for, let's say, total probably 8 years or so. I went on YouTube to see, just see what other guys were doing, and I couldn't find any kind of videos that showed the actual whole process of building a bull rope. I saw one on lacing a handle, I saw some braiding, but this is going to do a step-by-step process of the whole deal. This is the rope we actually build in this video. I tried to get everything to be as clear as possible. You'll see my videotaping skills pretty well suck, but I think I got enough on here that if you're interested in building bull ropes, you should be able to watch this video and then do it. As simple as that. So. I rode with my own ropes for the last probably 4 years I rode, and I've got guys going with my ropes for 10 plus years. It's kind of incredible. I mean, I bought a new bull rope every year and a half, and once I started making my own, I just make my own because I could, I replace it every 2 years or so, and to have guys going down the road with your rope for over 10 years, it's almost unbelievable. So this is just how I do it. I'm sure there's other guys that are going to watch this and tell me I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but they can post their own video then. So we're going to go through all the materials. I mean, the whole process step by step. You watch this video, you should be able to handle it and make a little money going up and down the road. A little guaranteed money. Alright, so here's a couple ropes that I've made. This is actually the rope we're making in this video. It's American style. This is my Brazilian style rope here. It looks a little different than most Brazilian ropes. It's really more of almost an American style riser on it. It doesn't have all that. It's more of a flat rope. I mean, it's really more of an American rope with a Brazilian pole to it. It's much different than what the Brazilian guys make. This one I made here just messing around. This is actually a reversible rope. You could ride it Brazilian style. You could ride it American style. I've never actually sold one of these ropes. I was just kind of messing around and wanted to practice my Brazilian block that I came up with, and realized that a right-handed rope is a right-handed rope, or a left-handed rope is a left-handed rope, no matter whether it's Brazilian or American. You put your hand in this way, that's right-handed. You put your hand in it this way, that's right-handed. So just messing around with that one. I wanted to show you guys, I mean, when you're building your ropes, when it's all said and done, I mean, that's hard as a rock right there. The handle is even harder. If you don't have it good and tight, if the leather's going through there real easy, you're not doing a good job. You're not building a good quality rope. The only things you want out of a bull rope is a handle, and you want it to not roll over. That's it. There's nothing else to it. So yeah, these are just a couple of my ropes. They start at $250 to $300 for pretty much everything. And if you watch this video and you decide you don't want to make your own rope, alright, so if you guys decide you don't want to make your own bull rope, you can give me a call, or if you just have any questions, you can email me or call me. If you email me, you better call me and let me know you sent me an email. So you might as well just call. So if your first rope didn't turn out so great, this here's the first rope I ever made. You can see quite a bit of difference in the blocks. I mean, it's pretty big difference. This is 7-plat bull rope here. But if your first one doesn't turn out too great, it's no big deal. I mean, they get better with time. I started off selling my first bull ropes for $1.25. I mean, they're a lot of work, and I mean, you're really giving them away at that point. But if you're not making a good quality rope, then you really can't sell it for that much. You put the time in, you make a good stiff handle. This rope right here is the replacement for, I built this rope here over 11 years ago. He had ordered another rope from somebody else. He didn't care much for it. He went back to this rope. I mean, he had the benzoin oil a few times, but 11-year-old rope, when you still can't turn that thing over. That's all you want from a bull rope anyways. That's what gave out on the rope. I mean, that's pretty good when the rope itself gives out before the handle. If you got a rope that's, you know, the handle's starting to wear out a little bit, you really like the rope, put some benzoin oil on it. That'll buy you at least a little more time. That'll stiffen that leather back up and get you a little more life out of that rope. But I mean, if you can get 11 years out of a rope versus 1 year, you spend 175, 200, you get 1 year out of it. You spend 250, 300, and you get 11 years out of it. Well, you just save quite a bit of money. So that's why my ropes are priced where they're at, because they're worth it. So, but yeah, I mean, when you start off, they most likely won't be. I mean, you can see the difference in them. This is when I used to, with the smaller handles, I used to not add in that extra set of strands. So you see the size difference in the block. And the block is what makes the rope. I mean, if this isn't all hard as can be, then you're really not making that good of a rope. You can hear the difference in those handles. Alright, so we're going to go over all the materials we're going to need to build this rope. Over here I've got a roll of some 7/8 ounce hide. I tried a little thicker hide once, 9/10 ounce. It was too thick. It didn't work out well. 7/8 ounce works perfect. I got some parachute cord here. We're going to use that for the X stitching. I got some black string here. I got this at Hobby Lobby. They got all kinds of color options there, but you can use the Mason line they got at Lowe's or Home Depot or any hardware store. You'll need a little electrical tape. This is saddle soap here. We'll use this to lube up the leather to get it to slide through there a little easier. We'll need some leather sheen. When the rope's all done, you got spray down that leather. That helps protect the leather. It stiffens it up slightly, but it's really there for to protect the leather. Obviously, we need some rope. This is 9/16 polypropylene rope. You could go a little bigger. You know, you could go 5/8. You could go 1/2 inch. You know, just around about that. So that's all the material we need. Now let's see here. You'll need a set of pliers. I have no clue what these pliers here are actually made for. These were given to me by Marcelo Nunez. He let me borrow a couple tools. He was teaching me. He began to teach me how to build a bull rope. Then he went off to Mexico, got hurt, and went back to Brazil. Never saw him again. So thanks, Marcelo, for these. I've made a lot of use out of those. If you can't find anything like this, these will work. I did have to grind down the teeth on these things. They really bit into the leather. But if you can't find anything like that, you can get a pair of these at any hardware store. Those are easy to find. This is my leather strip cutter. This was given to me by Jake McIntyre. He's the one that showed me how to do all the the block and the leather and the handle, all that stuff. Looking online, I couldn't find anything like this. I really couldn't tell you where you could get something like that, but this thing works great. We got a dowel rod here. Really, I just use that to wrap my string around for when we do those little string wrap knots. This is just easier to hold than holding that big giant roll of string. Oh, let's see here. We're going to need a lighter, a knife, tape measure. You'll need a clothespin. I wrapped up the clothespin with some electrical tape just to keep the wood from snagging on the rope. But you'll need this when you're braiding everything up good and tight. Your hands will start to hurt. You'll need this will hold everything together while you rest your hands a little bit. So I got a couple lacing needles here. I use this little brass one forever. I just ordered this silver one, and it works really well. I mean, I wouldn't even bother with this brass one. The brass one is so tiny. You gotta shave down the leather so much to get it in there, and then you get a tight spot, and it just pops right off. I didn't have any trouble with this one, so I just used this one on this rope actually. All right, let's see here. I got this little leather hand glove thing I made. I put some gauze on there. I just use this when I'm stretching all the strands. You do 84 strands, and it puts a hurting on the side of your hand. Then we've got a awl here. This is just a screwdriver ground down. I pretty much only use this at one point in the bull rope when I'm tying those little string knots on there. And this awl I use for lacing, doing all the leather work. It's just a screwdriver ground down. It's pretty wide this direction, and it's thinner this direction, so it's kind of an ovaled out shape. And you stick that in there, you know, it just helps the leather follow in there the direction you want it to lay. I took a little piece of wood there and just kind of carved it out, super glued it to the top of this thing, and just gives yourself something really more to push with when you're lacing that. I mean, if you're building a good bull rope, putting this all through here is not an easy job, so giving yourself a little something extra to push against it is a pretty good idea. So that's everything we need, tools and materials as far as that. So that's it. I mean, you don't need much to build a bull rope. Alright, so the next step is I've got 14 feet of parachute cord here, and to get that ready, I'll need my lighter. You get it all cut off, you cut the ends off, melt it up. Melt it all together. That keeps these little white strands from coming out and coming all apart on you. So do that before you start the egg stitching. Next up, I'm going to cut 38 feet of rope, and then we'll get started on marking it out and getting the egg stitching ready to roll. Alright, so I got the rope. Took a piece of found the middle of the rope, took a piece of electrical tape, just marked that with the tape. This rope, I actually went 7 feet to the first piece of tape. That right there is where the block's going to start. Normally it's about 6'6". This guy wants his body to be a little longer so that his knots will line up a little better. He can grab a hold of them when he's out in the arena. Same kind of thing on the parachute cord. You find the middle of it, you just tie a little knot. At this point, we're ready to start the X stitching. So I'm gonna head into the house and we'll get started on that. All right, so this right here is about 18 inches from the end. I'm gonna take this rope, separate it. I got 2 over here, 1 over here on the inside. Alright, we'll separate that. We'll slide this in. Go ahead and take it all the way up to the knot. You want to try to keep this open while you're bringing that through there. Otherwise, any twists that are in the parachute cord just work their way all the way down to the end, and then you gotta fight them to get them out. Alright, I'm going to take this, line it up, and see which one we line up with the best. Looks like this one right here. Open her up, slide her in. Looks like I got a knot in this. There we go. All right. Alright, now this side here has to go over first every time. It goes through on the top first, it goes through on the bottom first. If you bring this one through first, it's just going to suck down inside the rope. It'll go in between these two and just suck down and disappear. You wind up with half an X. So whenever you separate this, you got one on the inside and then two over here. Just snug it up. You don't want to pull it too tight. Every time I've ever tried to pull it tight as I go, I wind up with a little twist in the rope. Not enough to throw the rope away, but you know, if you just pull it snug for now, and once you get it all in there, you go back and you tighten it all up, and you'll have a much straighter hanging rope. So whichever one goes first the whole time. You don't need to flip the rope over to see what's going on the bottom side. And so if you see there, it's, I mean, every time the rope is split, you're gonna run a piece of parachute cord through there. Every one. This whole process here usually takes somewhere about an hour to get the X stitching in, get it tightened up. Just take your time. You want to make sure that you're not putting any twist in the rope while you're doing this. If you put the twist in it, you're going to have to take out all the X stitching to get it out. Just snug it up. You're not pulling anything tight at all right now. We're going to do this. We start about 18 inches from the end of the loop, and it's just a roundabout. It doesn't have to be exact. And you'll go to about 18 inches from the beginning of the block. So once you get that all in there, come back and we'll go to the next step. Alright, so we got the X stitching in. We'll go ahead and start tightening this up. Just come down. You won't get much out of it here at the beginning, but you're going to do the bottom and the top. Usually I try to hold it kind of like this. Make a little circle around this thing. Flip it. Bottom, top, back and forth all the way down the rope. Once you get to the end of it, you'll have quite a bit left over. Just wrap it up, tie it up. We'll cut that all off once we figure out which side is going to be the top side and which side's the bottom side, which we won't know all that until we've got all the rope untwisted, all separated, got the rosebuds tied, and we're ready to start braiding. At that point, we'll know which side's the top. So come back when you got it all tightened up. Alright, so we got the string, we got the saddle soap, got my little awl in here. This is pretty much the only thing I even use that thing for. You could get away without two of them. That'll soap up this string. Gives it a little lubrication when you pull it down through there. Alright, you're going to bring it up, around the awl, back down to your mark, which you mark with the tape. You go around it 1, 2 times. This is, while you still got this loop here, this is the time to make your adjustments. If you got a little too high, too low, slide it around then. And just cinch her down. Count it out. I always go about 50 rounds. I've seen guys, do little tiny ones. Mine winds up somewhere about that big. It's really more for looks than anything else. I mean, you get this 1.5 inches and suck that down in there, just as good. Saddle soap this strand up here. Run it around through the loop. Alright. When you cut these strands off, you want to be careful you're not cutting any of the rope. Alright, so the next step now is untwist it all, the fun stuff. I've never really figured out a good fast way to do this. Just untwist it little by little. I'm going to twist this the opposite way to twist. Get it twist up real tight, give it a tug, and some of it unravels. Not much. We got one separated. At this point I gotta take all these strands now and untwist them individually and stretch them out. You kind of want to take the whole twist out of them. You'll see the strand will kind of fluff out when you get it all straightened out.
By May, less than 8 weeks from now. That's according to South Korea's national security advisor, who says Kim promised to, quote, refrain from any further nuclear or missile tests. The secretary, Sir Sanders, tonight confirming that the president will meet with Kim.
Break through with this president, and frankly, it appears that he felt that unlike any other U.S. president who would have said, we can maybe talk about a meeting down the road after so many different conditions are met. For example, the release of the 3 Americans who are still being imprisoned in North Korea right now. Instead, President Trump made this snap decision, skipping all the bureaucracy, saying, fine, let's have a meeting, let's make it happen, let's do it in May. Kim Jong-un knew that no other U.S. president in the past, or probably the future, would ever...
Alright, right here I've got one strand to the right that I've already stretched. This strand to the left I haven't done anything to. So you can see the difference. It all fluffs out. All the strands are running straighter instead of being twisted all the way down. It's all running fairly straight. And this rope, when I break it down, I got 3 main strands. Each one of those breaks down into 12. So I got 36 on this side, 36 on the other side, and I always add an extra 12 strands. So that's 72, 84 of these to go, 83 to go. So when you get this all stretched, the next step will be tying the rosebuds, and then we'll begin braiding. Alright, so this wrap here can get a little confusing. So if you come up the front side, you're going to come around the back and then down the front of your hand again. You come up the back of your hand, you come up around, down the back of your hand. Up the front and down the front. Come up the back, down the back. Up the front, down the front. Up the back, down the back. Leave yourself extra. You got to go around a pretty big ball. Now what that wrap allows you to do is, as you're braiding and this gets shorter, you just pull it, more feeds right out. So we're going to get all the rest of these separated, tied up, and we'll be back when we're all set with that. So we're going to do all these and one extra set of strands that's 15 foot long. That'll be more than enough for you. When you get that all stretched, then we'll be ready to braid. Come back when you get there. Alright, so I've got everything ready to tie these rosebud knots. Now I separate mine. I got 8 strands here on all 3 of these. I take 4 out of each one, put them in the middle. It just makes for a smaller, tighter looking rosebud. We're going to come up, around, over, leave a nice big loop here on this one. Come around this next one, grab the next one, come up, around, down through the hole. Kind of start to snug them all up one by one. Something's wrong. That's right. Now that's the rosebud knot. Now I'm going to go around and tighten all that down, cinch it all down real good. But here we'll do it again real quick. You don't have to separate these out. If you could do all 12 if you want. It's just gonna be a fatter looking knot. Come around, we leave a big loop. Now we're gonna come around this one, around the next one, grab the next one, come up, down through the hole. And just keep going around here. Tighten each one up a little bit, go to the next one. You want it to all be nice and tight. This is still a little loose. But it's getting there. Alright, when I get happy with how tight this is, I'm going to take some electrical tape, which I don't have with me right now, but I'll get it all pulled real good and tight, wrap it up with some tape. That'll hold everything from sucking back in there. Alright, so this rosebud's all tightened up here, taped off. Still got to do this one, but you can see the difference in size there. When you get it nice and tight, it's going to get pretty small and compact for you. Alright, so at this point I got the rope hung and I've got my rosebud knots lined up the way I want them. Basically, when you look at these right here, we're looking at what's going to wind up to be the top of the block. This is a left-handed rope, so the one on the left is just slightly lower than the one on the right, this far outside left side. And it's kind of set up, think of that rosebud as like a triangle. You're going to have 4 points of the triangles on the bottom, and then 2 points, one from each of the triangles up here at the top. I got my extra strands taped off here. I'm going to work those in there. So right now I've got to readjust all my bundles to where I have 7 sets of 12. Right now I've got a few 8s, that's 12 there in the back. So we're just going to mix those all, rewrap those where we got 7 groups of 12. Alright guys, so this is a little diagram I came up with. It should help you start off your weave, your 9-plait. Shows you how to end at the end of the handle, depending on which hand, left hand or right handed you're making this. So if you look here, when you're starting your weave, this middle strand comes under everything. Then the next one over comes on top of that, and this one over here comes on top of everything. From that point, you're just going to do your regular braid once you've got this set in place. That's for a left-handed rope. And it's over here. The middle is going to be the top. This comes underneath the middle, and that comes underneath that. So, and then once you reach that point for 9-plait, you're going over 2, under 2. 5-plait, you're going over 1, under 1. 5-plait is really more of a weave. Then a 7-plait, you're going over 1, under 2. No matter whether you're building a 7-plait handle or a 9-plait handle, it's going to start the same and it's going to end the same down here. You're going to want to have, if you're making a right-handed rope, at the end of your base and at the end of the handle, you want to have 5 strands over here on the left side for a right-handed rope. So you might want to copy this down while you're getting started, and after a while you won't need it anymore, but in the beginning, this makes the braid start off like the braid's just been going the whole time. It took me quite a bit of messing around to get that to actually work. So hopefully that helps you guys get started on the braid, because I don't know how clear it is on the actual video. Alright, so we got this all separated. We're ready to start braiding. Now I'm making a left-handed rope. So this side here, my left side is going to be a little lower. I'm going to make my first turn on this side over here on the right. If you're making a right-hand rope, it's just the opposite. This side over here is going to be lower. You're going to start the braid off opposite. From that point, you just keep going with it. Alright, so I'm starting over to the right first. So the middle comes... the middle is made out of both of these ropes here. Alright, so you're going to come across the bottom here. And you're going to take this one over here. Not the outside, not the top side, this one right here. You're going to come over. Alright, now we're going to use this top one up here. And it's just under, over. It's just a weave, under one, over one. Same thing over here. This here is the first outside pass. I'm over one, under one, over one. I'm going to take this, I'm going to twist this on the outside. And as you go, you pull everything tight. I'm going to go over one, under one, over one. Twist it. Over one, under one, over one. So I'm going to go till I got 5 of these on each side. Right now I got 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, we got 5 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so what we're doing here is we're going to tie some knots in this. This is going to separate the handle from the base of the rope. The base of the handle, whatever you want to call it. So this, we're going to come around this outside one with the next one right next to it. Come around through it. You want to try to get it tightened up, but once you braid up the base of it, you're going to tighten it all up even more. Bring this up through the middle here. So you do the exact same thing over here. Come around through here and down through here. That's those two. I got 3 over here and 2 over here. So this one is going to come down around this one over here. Let's see. Can you see that? Through the hole. Alright, so we've got basically 3 strands coming up. That's going to be the handle. We'll tighten these up a little bit. Alright, now I've got 4 groups of 12 here on the bottom. I've got to separate these into 9. So we'll have 9 groups of 5. We'll just cut 3 strands out of here to get rid of the extra ones. Bundle them all up and start braiding the base of the rope. Alright, we're ready to start braiding. I cut out 2 strands here, 1 strand here. That brings you down to 45. At this point, you're going to want to pull everything tight again, even the ones you took out. You're going to want to pull these with the group that they come out with, not with the group that they actually are. Alright. So we're going to start over. Headed towards the right. We want our first turn over here on this left-handed rope. Take the middle, come up high. One right next to it comes below that. The one over here goes below that. Get out of here. Alright. Over here on this end, we're going to go over 2, under 2. This is a 9 plat. Same thing over here. Get the one on the outside. Over 2, under 2. Things you're going to want to have with you while you're doing this kind of braiding. You've got that clothespin. You use that to hold the rope. You'll need your tape measure. Standard handle is going to be 12 inches long, so you're going to braid 9 plat for 12 inches. Whichever side you have more on, 1, 2, 3, 4, so obviously I need to start over here on the side that has 5. Over 2, under 2. Over 2, under 2. And it's all gonna start coming together and getting tighter. Over 2, under 2. We're gonna pull 1, 2, 3 over those under these. One, 2, 3. Twist it over 2 under 2. Pull that side. 1, 2, 3. So you're going to keep doing this for 12 inches. Let's see here. For the last one, you want to end with more on which side is it? Yeah, you'll have 5 over here on the right, 4 on the left. This side over here is going to come together one step before this side. So 5 over here on the right if you're making a left-handed rope, or 5 over here on the left, but you want to go 12 inches, and when you, whichever one you're doing, make sure you've ended on the right side. And when you need to take a break, just take your little clothespin, stick it up there, that'll hold it all there. When you come back to it, you're going to want to re-pull everything up to the top, tighten it all up. I mean, you can braid this too tight, but it's pretty hard to do. I mean, really everything, you want it to be almost as tight as you can do it. I'll be quiet, Pepper. What do you want to go outside? So go 12 inches. If you're making a left-hand rope, 5 over here, 4 over here. Come back when you get to that point. Alright, so I got 5 over on the right side. You pull them all tight. Let's come around and tie this off here. We're going to take some electrical tape. We're going to wrap this up. This is going to stay like this till the handle's done. I usually build the handle, most of the handle, put the block together, bring all the rope together on the far side of the handle after the block is done and everything's set. So this is going to stay like this for quite a while now. Alright, so the base of the rope is done. At this point we need to go back and tighten up all these knots up here that we made. Usually wind up having to pull things one strand at a time to get it really good and tight. Pull a little more slack there. I don't know if you can see that, but that's all pretty tight right there. Alright, so we are making a 13/16 inch handle. If you start with 2 strands in each one with 9 plat, that gives you about a 3/4. Every half strand that you add is about a 16th. So we need 2.5 strands. All total that's 7.5 strands. I got 12 strands in here. When you cut them, you want to try to pick the ones that are going to be kind of tucked up here, tucked up under it here. You don't want to cut the outside and then it pops out here. You want to cut the inside. 2.5 in each strand. Then we'll braid up the handle. Same way we braided up the base. Gonna end the same way. We'll come down 4 or 5 inches past this. I always like to be able to unbraid some than having to get to the end of it and find out I needed to braid it more. Then you gotta take all the tape off, braid it an inch or two, put it all back together, and finish your leather. So you'll want to do a little extra. That way it'll save you time on the other side when you don't have to undo it all. Alright, so I need 7.5 strands here. I'm going to try to pick the 4 strands that come out right here on the bottom. They'll be tucked up under there. Cut out 4 strands, and then we'll cut out a half strand later. Alright. Now, all the strands aren't exactly the same. Some are a little thicker. So when you split the strand, you want it to be as even as you can get it, but it's not as critical as you would think for it to be split perfectly right down the middle. Separate. I got 2 strands here, 1 strand here. Take 2 more strands here. Let's see if I can get that up good. Maybe we'll split this one here. And then I'll have 3 strands here. We'll go ahead and separate all these. When I split this strand here, I can go ahead and bundle these 2 up. Then I gotta split one of these over here. these strands here. We'll cut out half of them from one of these halves. I like to put a little twist back in these half strands after I separate them. Helps keep them clumped together. Once you tear it apart, it kind of wants to go everywhere. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with the other two. I'll show you the start of the braiding again. We got this little diagram here. I don't know how well that turns out there. You got how you want to end it down here at the bottom, how you want to start the 9 plaits, how you want to start the weaves. Alright, so we'll start this braid off just like we did the bottom side. We're going to start towards the right side. So this comes up over the top, this one comes over, and that one comes under the bottom. So the top, the middle, the bottom. Alright. Yeah, we gotta straighten these all out down here. And these I kind of line up 1, 2, 3 this way. I'd like to take the middle one. If I can get it, there we go. Over 1, under 2. Gonna do the same thing on this side. I take the middle one and go over 1, over 2. Take the very far outside one, twist it, over 2, under 2. Very far outside, twist it, over 2, under 2. You want to pull these all 3 every time. One, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Alright, so we'll braid this just like that. Like I said, it's usually 4 or 5 inches past where this one's taped off. That's usually enough. Or you can usually, if you want to go by finger width, you probably get your whole hand in between there. at this point. When you start putting that leather in, it's going to shorten this thing up. So that's why you want so much extra. Alright, so we've got the top and bottom braided. This is what I mean when I say you can be able to stick your hand in it. By the time we get done, we're going to have about 3 finger width. Maybe a little, depending on how big your hands are. I go with a loose 3. If you're a big giant guy, you'll probably go with a real tight 3. That's on American style, Brazilian ropes. I mean, sometimes the finished product is this. I mean, I saw a guy in Brazil help pull his own rope and then put his hand in it. I never saw anything like that. Alright, so at this point we know which side is the top of the rope. We can get rid of all this over here. We want to end this obviously on the bottom, give it a nice clean look. Alright, I'm going to pull that tight. I'm going to grab my lighter and I'm going to melt it right here where these two come together. Melt it just a little bit right there. Alright. I don't know how well you can see that, but I melted that right there. Now I'm going to cut these ends off and melt these into it also, so it will be solid and it's never going to pop apart. That's a little big there. Oh well. That's all solid. That's not coming apart at all. So at this point, we are ready to start lacing the handle. Alright, so we're ready to start lacing. It's about a 1/4 inch leather here. Get your saddle soap. Alright, so we're going to come down the rope here, to here, to here, to here. Just right down the middle of these 2 spaces right there. You want to make sure you're not splitting these strands up. Make sure you keep your leather laid out flat so you know how to feed it in here. When you're pulling this leather through here, you want everything as tight as you can get it. Alright, so we come all the way down. Now the next one, we're going to do a little crisscross pattern right here at the beginning of it. That'll help fill up all the empty space in here. So we're going to come over here. It's kind of hard to see with all the fuzzy pieces there, but the one down the very bottom we're going to skip. We're coming up to the next one. Alright, so when we're lacing the handle, we're going through like the second intersection, I guess. I don't know. So you got this little space you could go down. That's the first one out, the second one in. This is the one we're using when we're making the handle. This space right here. So we skip the first space. Oh, you probably couldn't even see what I was talking about. These spaces, just in case you couldn't see. Second one in. Alright, so we skip the first space, which is down here. We come up here, loop back, come over here, loop back, and we're going to do that a couple times, fill up all this space in here. Alright, when I'm lacing this through there, I got the flat part, or the wide part of the awl going this way. So that leather will just follow right along. It's already ovaled out. Shut it. No, outside. I always like to do 2 of these little crosses and I just go right to the regular lacing. You see some guys go a couple inches. as it starts to get tighter, you'll want to start actually using the saddle soap a little bit. Now from this point, we're just going to start with the regular lacing. We're going to come here and we'll come right out here, and everything will stay the same all the way down the handle. Huh.
When I was outside, I felt a drop of rain.
Okay. Is it raining?
No.
Okay then.
I need to change my shoes. I want you to have something to eat.
In a little bit. And from here on, you're just doing one step at a time, all the way across the handle.
Daddy, now it's sprinkling. Like when I went outside, I just felt raindrops. It was sprinkling and it's about to rain.
When I'm doing the handle, I always push up from the bottom. It probably doesn't matter, but if you switch it up, you can see the difference. If you pick one way, you push through from the top all the time, then it'll all look the same. If you push through from the bottom all the time, it'll all look the same. No, you guys can't even come inside. So why would Trey come inside?
Well, when we're done, can Trey come inside?
Yeah. Later.
When
Later.
we're done playing outside, you can come in.
Alright, so I've gone ahead and laced up most of this handle coming down. I'm not going to have enough to come all the way across. We're going to have to splice some in. I just wanted to say, when I say you need to come through either the top or the bottom, sometimes you got to come through the top just to get all the strands separated where they need to be. You come through just a little bit, make that hole up. And when you actually push the yawl all the way in, that's when you need to either come from the top or come from the bottom. Just stay consistent. No matter how you decide to do it, you just stay consistent the whole time. And everything will turn out pretty uniform. Now there are inconsistencies in the leather. You can't do much about it. If you find a spot that's really just too thin, then you can go ahead and cut that out and splice in there. You can kind of see right here, leather gets a little thinner. Gets a little thick here. You're gonna have some inconsistencies. But if you do everything the same the whole way, overall, it'll look good. Alright, so we gone ahead and laced up this handle. This here, we've gone about as far as we can go. We're going to have to splice in here. Pretty much any time you're doing a full lace handle, you're going to wind up with a splice in it somewhere. If you go about halfway and then do some kind of half skip or skip lace, one piece of leather might make it. At this point, we're going to go ahead start putting the leather in this block. I like to have the block all set up before I finish out the handle. That way I know everything's set the way it's going to be. This isn't going to go this way or that way. It's all set up and solid. Alright, so I've got 3 strips of leather here. This piece here is my cover piece. This is the last piece that goes across the block. With this, when you're doing the block, you don't really need the lacing needle anymore. You just this is 50 inches long, 9/16 wide. We're going to cut this like this on both ends. And then the cover piece, I'm going to take this, squeeze it up and round it out. That way it'll go through the whole round. If you don't do this ahead of time, it may bend back the other way and it just gives it a not so clean look. And then we'll take this, fold this in half, take the pliers here to squeeze it. If you can see those lines in it, that's pretty much marked there for the center. And I've got 2 other pieces of leather. We're going to cut the ends the same. I've got a 3/8 that is 30 inches long, and I've got a 5/16 that is 36 inches long. 5/16 will be the one that's going down the center. The 3/8 goes down the outside. And the cover piece goes down the center over right over the 5/16 piece. I should cut that longer. Gonna mark them all the same, right in the middle. Now if you have to add on to the handle, I already had an extra piece from the last time I made one of these size handles. I found a piece that matched it pretty good, but I leave my my strip cutter set up for this till I know that I've got enough. That way I don't have to reset it and you're a little big or a little small. It's already set up for the same size that you cut this first one. As soon as you know you've got enough for the handle, that's when I go ahead and make cuts for the other. Now on my American block, all my leathers, they're always the same size. This outside, or this inside piece is always 5/16, the outside's always 3/8, and this one, the cover piece, the last piece, is always 9/16. If you don't add in those extra strands, you can shrink these down slightly, but not much. Alright, so this will be the step we're gonna need the pliers. These big ones give you some good leverage. I really only use these coming right around the riser type area. That's about the only spot I really use these for anything. I use these for the whole thing when I couldn't find this set anywhere. So if you can't find nothing like that, these will do you just fine for the whole thing. Alright, so we're about ready to get started. Alright, we're getting ready to start putting the block together. I'm gonna get these first two pieces of leather all mashed down here. You get it started going in there around this direction, and it should follow along that direction. So the first piece we put through there is actually going to be the cover piece. Alright. So the holes we're going to be using, you got this comes through down here, that's the very bottom, and that right there is the very bottom. We're going to come through these, what would be the second holes up. Get some saddle soap on there. to the middle there. Yeah. That leather put a little kink in there, but we can get that stretched back out. There we go. This is probably the most fun part of buildable rope, is the block. We're going through the same spot on the other side. Oh, right here. Almost went through the wrong one. There's the very bottom, the middle, or the second one, and this will be the other hole we use. Alright, let's try this one again. Son of a bitch. We're gonna fucking go on with it. You fucking bastard. What a fucking dick. Well, you can see this one bent back on me right here. This one's just kind of deaded from the leather, but this one actually folded back the other direction. I think all in all it'll look alright, but you want to aim for it to be curved like that. Every once in a while you get a piece that just wants to keep flipping on you every time, but that's the aim anyways. So now we'll put in the centerpiece, which is, where the hell is it? There's the 5/16. The smaller of the two, this one. This one goes through just above where the centerpiece or the cover piece goes through. So we'll go through right here, right there, and over here on this side we'll come through on the top side of all that. So here and here. Once you get that in there, you want to try to kind of roll that around, spread it all out. What did I just do with the thing again? That's one of them. Where's he? It's gotta be this one. Alright. That's pretty much it. Come through right here. Right there. Okay, and there we go. There's the last one. Alright, now this piece will go down the outside. It's going to come around, and this piece actually goes in through this side and comes back around. Okay, so all that's tight. Now this first one goes down pretty easy. Get everything untwisted here. Alright, so we look through where they, maybe you see better here. So we're going to come through here and here, come back up here and here. And we're doing this first one up top here. Let's see, so this and this one here, this one here. So that's here and here. There's another one coming up right here, and this one here. Okay, so this side is going to be the short one. So we're going to come across the top with the short one. We're going to start at the long one. Now we're going to bring these two up to these two. Alright, so the memory card ran out. Hopefully not too long ago. We're going to bring this one back up through here. last little cinch there. Now we just keep that pattern the whole way. This one goes under first, so we bring this one across first. And this whole thing just gets tighter and tighter as you go. This first one goes through easy, the next one goes through fairly easy. That last one's pretty fun to deal with the whole way down. Alright, so we just continue on like that all the way down the block. I'm going to go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll come back and do the outer piece right here. Bring that down, then we'll do the cover piece. Once the cover piece is done, the block is done, then we can go ahead and splice on to the handle, the leather, splice on the leather to the handle and finish that out, braid it back together. Once you get the block done, you're at the final stretch of it. So I'll go ahead and take care of that and be back. Alright, so we're down to almost the end of this here. Now if you bring this between, it's kind of like the mixed strand that's both some of this one, some of that one. That's where you're going to bring this down.
Daddy.
Get out of my garage.
But
Get out of my garage. And then this one will go through in just the same old spot right there. So I mean, everything in rope making is pretty repetitious. There's only a few things you have to know and do them over and over and over. Alright, so that was a 36-inch piece. You could probably get away with 30 inches. In my opinion, it's better to have too much than not enough. Okay. Who knows if you could even see that. That's ridiculous, man. I'm gonna go down this and try and bend this back. Get it to bend the other way from this point on. Alright, so the next step here, we're going to come around this outer piece. It's going to come down right through here. Maybe easier to see here, right here. And come up here. Or down here. And then up here. Down here. And kind of wrapping up this little section here. comes around down in here. Soap that up. Where's my soap?
Look at this.
Alright, so I lost the saddle soap down this hole here for a little while. I forgot to put that on this. Oh, that's nice. All right. Now we're gonna come up right here. There we go. So you're basically going under just this one strand when you're coming up. So when you're coming up, really just hand tight will do when you're coming up. I usually try to cinch them down a little bit, coming back through the top to the bottom. I'll cinch them all down with the pliers, but just coming up hand tight. Okay, you're done. Bring me my phone and go ask your mom.
Okay. Here I go. Daddy, am I done now?
Go. No, you need to read still. You can read when you get home. Ask your mom if you can leave though.
What?
I said ask your mom. Really, once you get started, you're just doing it same thing over and over. So we're gonna come through here. Goodbye. Well, you can hear how hard that handle is. This is getting there. Once we get all these other leathers through there, I mean, it's pretty dang hard. If you're gonna make a good bull rope, it's gotta be hard like that. I mean, if the leather's going through there too easy, it's not gonna last. It's just not gonna last. Making a good bull rope is a pain in the ass. Same thing, come up. We're going to do the same thing all the way down to the end. We'll come out here and I think we wind up coming down here somewhere. Yeah, it's right here. So once you get to the end of all that, then you'll come back, we'll do the cover piece. Once we get to the end of that, we'll, like I said, we'll splice in that last piece for the handle and go from there. Alrighty. Alright. So this is what we just put in. That's why I call it, this is the inner, outer. This is the cover piece that we're getting ready to put in. That's just what I call them. Who knows what their technical term would be. Oh. Alright, so when I'm doing the cover piece, I always come through the top on the middle section at least. If you come through the bottom, you kind of put a little hump. Put a little hump in the middle of the block. Alright. Let's see here. Gonna come through. Which one was it? Fucking bastard. This comes over first. This one come over first. Come through between these two, and we're gonna jump up into there. You can hear it's getting tighter, and we got quite a bit to still get through there. Alright, let's hope this will round out. Fix what we did on the first pass. You want to come through slow and steady. that right? I'm pretty sure it is. And we gotta come through here to this one. That's not where I want to come through. That's where I come up. Come through here. Okay. I'm wrong one here. Now let's cinch these down. Let's go with this one. Okay, so we come up through there and there. We're gonna bring these up and into these little side ones we did down the side. Now when I'm going, it doesn't really matter which way you put your awl through when you're doing these side pieces here. It's really when you're doing this middle section that you want to push down. And you push down on something flat, and that'll give you a nice flat block. And as the guys pull them down, they'll round out a little bit as they get cinched down so many times. But a brand new rope, we want a nice flat block. You want this to kind of face this direction like that. Alright. Bring the other one up. This one's right here. Snake by there now. I'm kind of facing the wrong way, so I'm going to come down here, try to hold this off like that. Sometimes you can get it to spin around that way. Sometimes you got to pull it back out. There we go. Now we're facing the right way. And now we're facing the wrong way again. And we keep going back and forth. Now we're facing out that way. That's where I want it, right there. Let's see if you keep going. Alright, just like before, I don't worry too much about that bottom there. I'll get it as much as I can, but I don't put the pliers on that part. Anytime you're crisscrossing, whichever side crosses first, just kind of like the X stitching. Well, not really like the X stitching, because that one's the first top and bottom. This side here comes across first, and then this one comes across first also. All the way down. we go. Alright, we come up right here, through here, so you're going to follow that same pattern all the way down. I think when you end it off, instead of coming down through where you would normally come down here, the last one, you just come down with this end one right here. One that comes from here and here. You just bring them down here on this, right along with this outside, instead of bringing them down here in the middle. Once you got that done, I mean, we'll just cut the leather off. We'll cut these off. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this block, and when I get to that point, we'll come back and splice in the rest of the leather that we need on this handle. We'll go a little farther with it. I usually like to be about an inch away from where the two come together, maybe a little less than that. I usually try to line up to where I got 4 passes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, that's about an inch. So I'll go ahead and get this all put together. Looks like I have to charge up the camera a little bit, and then we'll come back and splice in the rest for the handle. Alright, so we got the block all done. We got my little brand on there, that last one. I just, instead of bringing this one back through, I just cut this off down here. And just, I mean, this is just one piece. I put a lot of brands on this thing. And that was the last good one on there. But yeah. So the block's done. We'll cut all this stuff off at later. And let's see here. Alright, so the splicing the piece of leather is really pretty simple. I'm going to cut this off right here. Now I'm going to leave just a little bit. The leather's kind of squished down inside the rope. So I want to leave a little bit of where the leather fluffs back out. That'll keep the leather in place. So I didn't cut it all the way down flush to it. So whatever leather you're splicing in, I always try to keep what's left over. You don't need that much to finish it off. So you leave those extra pieces laying around. That's why I got a piece that's 2 foot long left over. Just leave a little bit hanging out the end. We'll come back and cut this off later. Now we'll just finish lacing this up. We're really cutting it close on whether I braided enough of this. I certainly hope I don't have to undo it and braid a little more after I told you guys to be careful not to do that. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and braid this up and or lace this up, and when we get to the point where we're going to bring these two together, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll show you guys how to do that anyways.
Just one free hearing test of his local.
Alright, when you start getting close, you're going to want to put a couple in try and line it up. Looks like I probably did braid enough. We're going to be looking for 3 fingers here. Once this is all unwrapped and everything, I'd say we probably end somewhere right about here. And I like to have 2 to 4 more loops to make with the leather after everything's been braided together. So I'd say right now I'll probably go another 2. See how we look at that point. But yeah, once you start getting close, you're going to want to make a round or 2 and then just see where you're at. Now that shows you guys that other little brass lacing needle. This one works 10 times better. I haven't had the leather slide on. It hasn't popped off the leather one single time. It's the first time I've used this thing, but this is the way to go right here. A few bucks on Amazon. Let's see where we're at. Another round or 2.
Joining me now, Dr. Tapering, the curator of the Aeronautics Department at the Smithsonian National Air and Space
Well,
Museum.
you get the idea now, so
Joins us. Good to see you.
I'll meet back up with you when we braid it together. Alright, so we are going to twist these up. That's the far outside of the handle. It's the far outside of the base. We're going to put a little twist in these. Keep them paired up. Next one. And the next one. This one. Alright, we want to try to make sure that this top is in the center, handle's in the center. Of the base. once we got 2 rounds here, everything's pretty well separated, just like it was before by the braid itself. So right now when I pull this top one, I'm right here. So I'm going to keep going around until I have about 6 of these that have already been pulled tight. At that point I'm going to start dropping strands so that it tapers down into the wear strip. Right now I got 7.5 strands in each one of these. I got 5 from the bottom, 2.5 from the handle. And so we're going to drop out 2.5 strands. I'll drop out the half strand from the handle, and then I'll drop out the other 2 from this section. I like to keep both of these as many strands as I can all the way till the end. Now once you get so far to where you've mixed these together, you can't tell what's what, but you know, you're getting some of the strands from the handle and some of the strands from the base all the way to the end of the tail. Alright, so I'm going to braid this up and I'll come back to you when I start dropping strands. I'll show you a couple of those. And then, I mean, it's pretty much like everything else in this. Once you've seen a little bit of it, you're just doing the same thing over and over and over. Alright, so we went ahead and braided this up. Now when I pull this last one tight, I'm on the 7th one, and that doesn't include the one where they first mixed together. So if I'm pulling on this last one, I got 1, 2, 3, well this one doesn't count actually. That is where they come together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one right here, the 7th one, would be the top strand over here. So we'll go ahead and start dropping some strands out. I like to start with the half strand, get that out of there. So it's pretty easy. You find the one with less in it. And then you got to figure out which part is the half strand. That's a hole. Sometimes it helps pull a little more out. There's a hole right here, and a hole right here, and there's my half strand. Give it about 4 or 5 inches or so. Sometimes they're easier to figure out than others. so I'm going to go ahead and drop out all the half strands. And then out of the big one that I got 5 strands in, I'm going to drop 2 out of there. We're going to go 24 inches from here with 5 strands total in each all together after we've dropped everything out. And then once we've gone 24 inches, then we're going to start dropping strands again to get down to the tail size that he wants. So I'm going to go ahead and do the whole, drop out all the strands, do the wave strip, and then we'll be back. Alright, so we come down 24 inches. I had 9 flat, 5 strands in each one, that's 45. So I dropped 2 out of each one. I got 3 in each one, 3 times 9 is 27. I got to drop out 2 more and then split it into 5 flat, 5 strands each to make the right size. This would be about 3/4 inch 5 flat handle. So go ahead and cut one out on this side. Cut one out on this side. That'll take us down to 25. And now we're just going to split it up into 5 flat, and this is going to be 5 flat, soft, almost mushy. So we'll do 2 feet of the softer kind. Then we'll tighten it up for the last 3 feet. That way you don't have a big long tail that's all loose and ready to catch a spur. Alright, so I've got the 9 plats tight all the way to the end. Now when I go into the 5, I'm just going to go into it loose. This goes over 1, under 1. I'm just kind of snugging these up here. I'm not pulling real hard like I had to on all that other. So we're going to go about 2 foot of this, pretty loose. And then we're going to start cinching it all up real tight again, like I said. That way you don't have a real bushy rowel grabber floating around the last 3 feet of the tail. That's a little tight there. And yeah, we're on the home stretch now. This part here, this loose part doesn't take very long to do. We'll go ahead and finish out the tail. We tie in the string knot on the very end, same thing as these knots right here. You see those on the block, those little string knots there. It's the same thing down at the end. And then we'll finish out the handle, and you got one little cover piece on the end of the handle. Cut all this crap off, burn it down, melt all this stuff down so it stays in place. Kind of melt it down and push it into the rope, and it'll stay in place. And then if I pulled that down real tight and everything, by the time you get that rosined up, that's going to be pretty small little handle, 3/4 inch, 5 flat. And so yeah, we'll go 2 foot soft, mushy, whatever the guy wants. Sometimes they want a real hard, tight tail. And 3 feet on the rest of the tail. Tie it off with these knots right here, and once you get done with that, then we just got to finish out the handle, and we're dang near done. Alright, so the tail's all braided. Last 3 feet are pretty tight. You compare the two. Tie it off, you do the same knot you did right here, right before the rosebuds. Same wrap there. Alright, we're gonna come through, cut all this crap off here. We'll cut those off. Melt them up, push them into the rope. That keeps those strands in there good and solid. Alright, so we'll come through here, we'll cut all this extra leather off. You can kind of leave it almost even with these rounds right here, you know. You want to leave a little bit of the part where the leather fluffs back out to its original size. We'll cut all this extra off here. We'll melt that into it. We'll go ahead and finish up the handle, and we'll come back where these two pieces come together. Alright, so we got this thing all laced up. I mean, you go all the way as far as you can go. And then we're going to continue on where these two come together. You're going to continue on to come through that same space here. And where they come together over here. From past that, we're going to that little center right there. We'll come make a few rounds. Then we're going to have our cover piece that comes across here. It's pretty much the same pattern as this under one. This inner piece of leather here on the block. We've got all these things. I don't even know if you can see them. There's some. So we cut all this off, we melted it down and pushed it down in there. That'll keep everything right where it's at. We're going to come through here. Pretty good. Alright. Now this little cover piece that we're going to put over this, you're going to put that on there just like the cover piece. You want to be, you know, on top of your spool through that little hole, and that'll keep this from cupping up like that. It'll make it nice and flat. You can come in through the top on this section. from here we'll go over to here. Oh. Alright, so from here we'll go over to this one and then just come down here a few passes, let's say 3 or 4. Here. Alright, so we're going to grab a piece of 3/8, about 24 inches long. Just come down, put a little cover piece on that. Let's see. We gotta go ahead and cut that off. We want to get that as flush as we can without being all the way in there where that's ever gonna come out of there. Alright, so we got one more piece left to go. And we'll take a lighter. We'll burn off all this little fuzz here on the handle. Just wave a lighter over it real quick, it melts off real quick. And spray her down with the leather sheen when you're done. I like to spray all the leather over once. By the time you get finished going over it the first time, you've got all the little crevices and nooks and all that. That leather pretty well soaked it all in. And then I just go all over it all again with another coat. That helps protect the leather. And yeah, that should pretty much do it. I mean, once we put that in there, I'll show you that and we're done. Alright, so we got a piece of 3/8, 24 inches long. Do this same as every other piece. Alright, so we're going to come through here, right on top of this piece of leather, and right through here. We're going to come down and we're going to use these basically almost the same spot as if you're doing the block or the handle up here, where all these pieces of leather went through. You're going to use that same spot. Not the first one out, the second one in. Right here. I usually come down, we'll come up, we're going to skip a hole, come up here, and then I usually make 3 or 4 passes. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. I mean, you'll probably change it up a little bit. You'll try this and that and wind up settling on what you think looks the best. But there's my saddle soap. Once we finish up this piece, we'll just hang it up, spray it down with the leather sheen, let it dry overnight, and this one is ready to go. And you can kind of already see how it wants to have that little hump in it. So once we start coming down this, we'll come through the top, and that'll push that little hump down flat. So this one, okay, that's what I thought. So we'll come through right here. That's where we want to come through. And let's see here, if we cross this one and then this one, that'll come out. So we want to cross this one over first, I believe, because that'll come out there. Yeah. 'cause that one would be the longer one. So come to there, this one will come up higher. Alright, so we want to come through here first. This side comes up higher. So we'll cross here to here. Alright, and this will be this one. And this will help flatten it out. One here. Just like always, we're going to cinch the top side down. No, get in bed. Get in bed. There we go. Now this one's going to want to come up underneath here. There it is. Come through there a little ways. Still a few more haven't got. There we go. Now it looks like it's almost cupping the other way, so I'm going to come through the bottom. And try to flatten that out some. There it is. Okay. Alright. I'm going to come down to the next one. And then we'll come up here with this piece of leather. Same thing. This one goes over first. That's second. I'm going to do, probably 2 more passes up top and get off the extra leather, and we're done. Alright, so we sprayed the whole thing down. By this time, all this is already soaked in. We'll go around everything again. Now, I just really doubt that. I mean, it says to give it a light coat, but I mean, I pretty well soak it down. Alright, we'll let that dry overnight and she's ready to roll. Just needs to be stretched, and I let whoever buys the rope do the stretching. So we're done.